Knowledge or skills? What is most important for passing the SBL exam? Well, students often ask this question, so we thought we'd do a recording where we really drill down on it. And actually the answer is not as obvious as you might think. The examiner gives us really mixed messages about what's most important, knowledge or skills. So Andrew, tell us about the knowledge.
Yes, it is a bit of a quandary, this, isn't it? How much knowledge do you actually need to pass SBL? Let's start by thinking about how much theory there is in SBL. The syllabus is massive. If you look at a study text or go on the ACCA Study Hub, there's hundreds and hundreds of pages, nearly 1,000 pages worth of content. And if you look at the actual SBL syllabus document, if you read that, you think, I just need to learn so many models and theories to pass this exam. So the message from the examiner at this point is you need loads and loads of knowledge, isn't it? There's so many things, all these different syllabus areas. And I mean, there are things here like Tucker's 5-question model and Kohlberg's stages of moral development and all these different things. And you go, I've got to learn so much stuff. So the initial message seems to be there's loads and loads of theory. The good news is that in SBL, most of the time, you don't need to just recite a model. So there are about 60 different models in the syllabus. And again, if you were learning all of those and reciting them, it's not really going to help you because they give you loads of stuff in the exhibits to use. And you don't even need to use the models particularly. So, people are often like, oh, I'm going to force a pestle into this. They're talking about risks. I'm going to talk about political. I'm going to talk about economic. I'm going to talk about social. You don't need to. Like, if you just identified some risks using the exhibit, using the information given and discuss them, that'd be great. That'd be absolutely fine. So people often see models as like absolutely vital in this exam, but a lot of the time, if you just use some common sense and use the exhibits, you're going to be okay. So that's sort of a little bit of a word of warning, I guess, with the theory stuff. So on the one hand, I'm sort of saying here, actually, don't worry too much about the theory because it is all about application, and that's what the examiner often says. But there are situations where if you didn't have the knowledge, if you didn't have the theory, you'd be a bit stuck. So a classic example is the 6 capitals. Integrated reporting. We love these, don't we, Ben? We love a bit of integrated reporting. We love those 6 capitals. Got my little mnemonic I use in Club SBL to help students remember those 6 capitals. But there was a question, for example, in 2024, which was they give you a proposal and it says, how would it be reported using the 6 capitals of integrated reporting? Nowhere in the exhibit did it tell you the 6 capitals. So if you're then like, I haven't done any theory, I'll be fine. You'd be going, that's quite a hard one to make up, isn't it? If you're going, 6 things, I've got to try and guess these. So there's an example of where theory is going to be useful. And NPVs get tested quite a lot. Not in like a financial management module, my sort of my passion, but not in that sort of way, but more they give you an NPV and you have to discuss assumptions. That's in practice exam 3 from ACCA and the practice platform. So they're giving you an NPV and you have to discuss the assumptions they've used. If you've never heard of an NPV, if you don't know what a net present value calculation even is, discussing that using those exhibits is going to be really difficult. So again, you need that base level of knowledge to be able to answer that. And a third example, there are loads, but a third one, and a question that came up in 2021, which was the role of the project sponsor versus the project manager. So there's a little bit of an exhibit. They're getting all different roles assigned to this job, and they want you to discuss the difference between the sponsor and the manager. Again, you need those definitions. So my answer is a little bit of, you need some theory. You need some theory to pass SBL. If you had zero theory at all, it's going to be difficult. But equally, you don't need to overdo it. Like, you don't need to know all 60 of the models in the syllabus and know how they work, because actually that could be detrimental to your answers. And as Ben is about to talk about, using the right technique and the right methods is absolutely crucial. So yes, you need some theory, but you don't need to know every single page of the study text or ACCA Study Hub to be able to pass this one, by no means.
Sure, and that is so. But message 1 from the examiner is kind of, the models look important because there's so many in the syllabus and because they're in the textbook. But actually, when you look at what the examiner says after each exam, the examiner's comments, when they tell us why people fail the SBL exam, it's never, there were students who hadn't learned the definition of pestle, and so they just couldn't answer this question. So many students lack the theoretical knowledge. No, they never say this. It's always students run out of time. It's always students didn't answer the question that was set. It's that students lacked depth in their points. They had the right sort of analysis, but they didn't go into enough detail to earn enough marks. The reasons people fail aren't about knowledge, they're about skills. The kind of mixed messaging for the examiner, I think, is that what they're telling us in the examiner's comments is that the knowledge isn't as important as the skills. And the skills are the reasons that people don't pass. So some of the core skills that you really need to pass SBL, make sure that you pass. Time management is one of them. For many people, time management's okay for SBL, but if you get it wrong, then it really stuffs you. So you've got to be practicing questions to time to make sure that you pass this exam. Another is adding depth to your points. And that comes, and that's a technique about how do you take an idea from the scenario and really develop it to be worth 2 marks for your point. And that's a skill, adding appropriate depth. And another one is being laser focused on answering the specific question that's been asked. And that comes from planning your answer effectively, planning your answer, planning your structure and your points to make sure that they really drill down on what the examiner is asking. These are core skills that we teach in our Club SBL courses, but they're skills that you can practice if you're an independent student. So making sure you're planning your answers, making sure you're developing your points and practicing questions to time. The developing your points you can get from swapping your answers with another student and reviewing. That's really helpful, giving each other feedback. So those skills, really, really important for you for passing the SBL exam. So Andrew, sort of coming back to answering the original question, which one is most important? And we do have these mixed messages. Which one do you really think it is?
It's a good question, right? One way to think of this is if we had 2 students, right? So we had one student who has memorized the study text, every single page, every model, knows them all inside out, but hasn't practiced any questions. So hasn't really got any technique, but just has incredible knowledge. That's student A. We had student B, who has got a bit of a light touch on the knowledge, doesn't know it too well, but knows the basics, knows the 6 capitals, knows roughly what each of the models are about, but has practiced loads and has really good technique. Student B will score way higher than student A. And I think that's sort of the answer to this question is, it's more about the skills, isn't it? It's about the skills. You need that base level of knowledge. And that's what we do in Club SBL. We go through really concisely the important bits of knowledge to make sure everyone has that base knowledge. And then we really, really work on those skills. So yes, you do need some knowledge because, as I said, if you don't know the 6 capitals and it gets tested, it's going to be really tough for you. But it's all about the application. It's all about those skills. So ultimately, I say skills win. And that hurts me because I love the theory and I love all these models. But and Ben, you're in Club SBL, you're our skills guy and you really work at people's skills. But I do think that, you know what, I have to say, I think Ben's role might be more important in our partnership here.
Well, you heard it here first. I'm the important one. Excellent. Well, thanks for your attention and watching. Subscribe to our channel here on YouTube if you want to get more great videos that can help you to pass the SBL exam.